Hi guys, welcome to the Lunge Lift podcast. Today we're joined with a very special guest, our friend and former colleague, Mr. TomBlissFit. Welcome, mate.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on guys.
So Tom and Rob and I all were part of the original crop of coaches opening up WIT training, or WIT House London as it's now known, 3 years ago. Coming up 3 years ago, yes. That was when we all started doing the activations pre-launch, and we've all sort of gone off and done our own little things since then. So Tom, can you give us an intro to you, what you do now, and who is Mr. TomBlissFit?
Well, where do I start? I guess my background stems from numerous high-performance rugby environments. So that's kind of where I saw myself going in terms of a career. So I graduated from Loughborough University in 2014, had a contract at London Wasps. So all was going well with them. I then went out to the States to play in the Pro League in San Diego. And then I had my first ever serious concussion, which cut my time playing very short. So I came back to England and was playing a bit of part-time rugby, had another concussion, and then a part-time PT qualification all of a sudden became very full-time. So that was back in August 2016. Had a call from Gymbox at the time, and I was very apprehensive to join such a big gym. As I was just starting out in the industry, and there was a considerable amount of rent to pay at the end of the month. But I jumped at the chance, and kind of the rest is history, really.
Amazing. So tell us about the concussions. It's quite a hot topic at the moment in the news.
Yeah. So I think concussions as a topic first stemmed way back in kind of 2011, 2012, and I think some NFL players, there was a $1 billion lawsuit, which was crazy at the time, about the repercussions of players post career. But it's in the news today with regards to rugby players and rugby players kind of back in the early part of the century, kind of from the years 2000 to 2010. There wasn't really many protocols surrounding the topic. When I was playing, I was fortunate enough there was a lot of protocols in place. So I never didn't kind of feel safe playing. But I think there's 70 or 80 rugby players trying to get a bit of compensation at the moment.
Wow. There's obviously, like, with that, because back in like in that part of the years, the tackling was obviously a little bit more brutal as well, a lot more like shoulder charges, and like there's a lot more aggression. And I don't know, have you ever seen that film Concussion with Will Smith? And
I have.
For me, that film, there's a scene where he puts with the jar and he shakes it, and
it's
like
crazy.
If you haven't seen the film Concussion, it's definitely worth watching, just as an interest in what actually concussion is, and like the repercussions from it, and like the effects, and just the thought of that, what's going on in your head.
It's quite ironic, but I was actually reading the book Concussion at the time of my concussion. So I've read the book and watched the film, but it's pretty harrowing to watch and to see. I think the guy was not Sonny Webster. He was something Webster, famous. I think he was a linebacker for the Steelers, and he committed suicide several years after finishing his career, which was pretty crazy to see.
Wow. What was your experience like, mate? I've never had a concussion, thankfully. Touch wood.
Well, I played number 9, so a big Polynesian number 8 from the opposite team came off the back of the scrum. Our flanker went in for the tackle. I kind of went in for a secondary cuddle, as I like to call it, a little after tackle, and all of a sudden I'm falling to the floor and his elbow's gone into my temple. So it wasn't a big collision or anything like that, but I was knocked out cold for 2 minutes on the pitch, completely sparkoed. It's on YouTube. I'll send you the clip later. And that was my first ever concussion. I'd never had a concussion, and it was kind of 0 to 100 real quick, and then obviously flashing lights to hospital, etc. And I'm not one to exaggerate, but the 4 weeks post concussion were horrendous. I couldn't have any stimulus at all, and you take it for granted what stimulus you have on a day-to-day basis. And I'm talking, I couldn't go on my phone, I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't watch TV. The only thing I could do was sit still. and go for the occasional walk. But every time I got up to go for a walk, I would have a splitting headache like that. So I'd literally just have to try and lie horizontal for most of the day. And obviously being in San Diego with beautiful blue skies and sunshine, it was a nice obviously environment to chill out in. But then again, it was hard because I couldn't get out and go to the beach and do all those wonderful things. But yeah, it was an interesting period in my life and my career.
Yeah, when it comes to concussion, is I was never a skilled rugby player as well as you, but where I then got into rugby league, which was I'd say the simpler one of for me, I was playing either 8 or 10, so just prop. I literally run at someone as hard as I possibly can and try and keep driving if I have the ball, or try and take them out. And I just remember first experience, it was a cup game. That was my first game, going for a tackle, and I've thought rugby union. I've gone head down and I've got knee to the head, and I'm just out on my back, like one of the other players, like getting the tongue out and back of my throat because I'm just like lying there.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple more after that. Just lack of skill, because I had the heart, but it's all well and good if you have the heart, but if you don't have the skill as well, it's just going to absolutely destroy you. And the headaches afterwards for me, that was one of the main things that actually stopped me at the time, because I was doing CrossFit to like supplement my rugby league in a way, because of that intensity and that same type of feeling. And it was then when I started doing the exercises, anything upside down or creating pressure in the head, and it was just severe. Obviously, clearly wasn't as bad as yours, because I think I'm still able to do stuff. But it's such a bad
It was debilitating, and as you touched on there, when I first started getting into CrossFit and learning the handstand push-ups, etc., and walks, it was I had to take it slow, had to take it really slow.
Yeah, well, it's funny how these sort of setbacks end up in setting you on a different path, and
100%.
It's led you to where you are now. So take us through that initial journey into fitness and growing your clients at Gymbox. And
so I was getting harassed on the phone by this recruiter for Gymbox called Dougie, and I do owe him a lot of thanks. But he was pestering me every single day. Credit to him, he's a bit of a wheeler dealer, and he managed to lock me in for an interview. So I went to Gymbox Covent Garden for an interview, and he said, "Look, mate, you get 7 weeks free rent to build up your client base, and then the 1st of Jan 2017, you're paying us, £1,200." So I was like, geez, that's a lot of cash on top of the house rent at home. Another story, but my contract in the States was supposed to be paid over 12 months, and after 6 months, when I came back to the UK, they cut my contract. So I'd gone because the idea was to come back to England, play part-time, and then go back out to the States to play again in year 2. But the CEO was an absolute dickhead. So he cut all my salary. So I was picking up about 200 quid a month from Richmond. So £1,200 was a considerable amount, but I jumped at it, and got on the first train, got to Gymbox for 6:30 for the first, for 3 years really. But the first few months were tough, and I was giving away taster sessions, and walking the gym floor is a load of, and the way they teach you to pick up clients is utter garbage. Yeah. And if it wasn't for my background and I guess my ability to just chat naturally to people and be a good person, I wouldn't have picked up clients as quick. I did have a bit of a leg up. I started coaching Sam Billings, England and Kent cricketer. So I coached him for free for 3 months, and he paid me a bit of rent, etc. But that was a fantastic experience to quite a high level athlete to get my teeth started. And then I just started PTing a few friends from uni and kind of posted it on social media, which is I'm sure we'll get to in a bit. And then lo and behold, the client base started to grow. But I remember walking home the first few months. I used to walk 15 minutes back up the hill to my flat, and it was touch and go for the first few months. It was tough, obviously making that rent, and I had doubts, but I stuck at it.
That's awesome. And you mentioned social media. For those who don't know, Tom's got a very impressive Instagram profile at TomBlissFit.
Thank you so much.
And it's been great to see it grow over the last few years, and the quality of content improve with time as well.
Thank you.
When did you realize the power of Instagram? It sounds like you were pretty early on it. Do
you know what? There wasn't a definitive moment when I thought, right, social media is the way forward. It kind of just happened naturally. I remember back in the gym box days, I had a GoPro Hero 4 and a 3-foot tall tripod, and I just used to start recording bits and pieces. And my knowledge was satisfactory. It wasn't fantastic, but I just started posting mobility videos, obviously off the back of a lot of injuries I'd had playing rugby, and then started this hashtag Mobile Mondays, which got kind of some good traction. So I used to post, I still do post regular mobility videos every Monday, with relatively in-depth but simple to digest kind of explanations, and got some good love.
Yeah. And when did you notice that it was becoming like a really powerful part of your business, I guess, because it's led to some really cool things for you?
Yeah, it has. I guess I owe Wit, an owe of thanks. When I started working there, we had the cool photo shoots on the rooftop, and mixing with some wicked characters in the industry, and doing photo shoots for Nike and Beyond Borg. So I guess when I first started working at Wit, I kind of really noticed that, hang on a sec, there's something here. And I'd heard of like a social media influencer, back in the day, and people selling their souls, but I made a pact to myself that I would only promote something that I would genuinely believe in, and to this day, I've kind of stuck to that. So it's opened some good doors.
That's awesome. Can you tell us some of the stuff you turned down? Is there like what sort of dodgy things that people ask you to promote?
I get sent some tragic clothing brands on Insta. Yeah. A few of those dodgy American protein brands. Yeah. I think I've turned down a little Butlers in the buff gig as well.
One of Bobby at Gymbox, he did a bit of that.
Yeah. I remember that. But no, I'm very lucky with the relationships I've built, and excited to see what the future holds.
How about some of the highlights? I remember you did something with England Rugby before lockdown. That looked pretty cool.
Yeah, that was on behalf of Mitsubishi, and I basically went to Penny Hill Park, and I took 4 gentlemen from the media through a typical England training session. So I think I split the session into two parts: kind of a skill-based kind of warm-up and movement prep, and then a bit of strength and conditioning and power work on the pitch. And credit to them, their coordination was lacking, but their effort was not. And so that was a good experience. I had Joe Launchbury, Johnny May, and a few other England players helping me out. And obviously, I've got a few friends in the team: Carl Sinclair, Harry Williams, etc. So nice to bump into them. But yeah, that was a pretty cool experience.
That's awesome. And you mentioned you'd seen some people get into Instagram influencing and selling their soul. How do you find the balance between making sure you put up a lot of content and actually living in the world? I think that's a challenge that obviously Instagram is incentivized to have people on their devices as much as possible, whether you're a producer or a consumer of content. And like all the documentaries coming out on Netflix, like the Social Dilemma, it's very clear to see that they're employing as much as they can about manipulating human psychology to addict people to the apps. How have you found that? Because obviously it's like no one is immune to the level of
the addiction. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they're very smart in how they manipulate the human brain.
I guess on a personal level, my content has always been organic, and what I mean by that is I actually live and breathe what I do, and it's my passion. I never have ever created content for the sake of content, which is what a lot of people do. So whenever I create, or whenever I'm doing a workout or I'm doing something cool, I just naturally document it. And obviously it helps to have, if there's a professional cameraman or videographer there, that helps. But I will never, go and create content for the sake of it. I will either be doing the workout myself and recording a snippet of it, or I'll be doing something cool. But it's pretty, I'm sure you guys saw, but I took a week off socials recently, a whole week off, and it was the best thing I've done all year, really. And I just guess it got to a point where it had become too consuming, and I was always thinking about my next post or a potential opportunity. And it took a week off and a step back to realize that you don't need to be spending so much time on this platform to have an effect on others, because at the end of the day, I do this because I love it. And I also do it to help others, and I can help others, but I don't have to be on it, 3.5, 4 hours a day. So yeah, it was a nice break, and I encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, have you changed anything about how you interact with socials now going forward? Like, having had the week off to reflect on how you were using it, are you changing? Are you putting any sort of systems in place or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. So before I took this week off, I think my average Instagram daily use was 2.5, 3 hours, which is pretty crazy. So I've limited. There's actually a setting on the app where you press and hold it, and you can limit it to a daily limit. So I've limited myself to an hour a day, and I get a 15-minute warning at the 45-minute mark to say, Tom, heads up, mate, you've got 15 minutes to go. So that's been working well so far. I mean, some days I do snooze it if I'm out and about WIT and I've done something and I've got to I'm on the train home and I'm posting some bits. But on the whole, I've stuck to that. And what's what the biggest thing I've done is remove the Instagram icon from the homepage. It became so autonomous and so automatic to. I'll be speaking to someone, you flick up your phone and you press on the app and you're like, hang on a sec, what's going on? So I've moved it 5 pages back, so I have to scroll 5 times to click on it. So that's it's a conscious scroll as opposed to a subconscious flick up and press. So that's kind of the biggest thing I've done to adjust my usage.
It's amazing how subconscious it becomes, and clearly it's been designed in that way so that you find yourself, if you're like queuing to pay for a coffee, you just reflexively have to get it out because you can't bear 2 minutes with your own thoughts.
Exactly. Do you know what? It's like nowadays, obviously, you're being bored is like we seem to have forgotten how to be bored. So we feel like we have to be either proactive, productive, whatever. We have to be doing something. And it's like every so often it'll be that I'll get my phone out and I'll put it straight back away and I'll just stand there and just like what's something, because that's what you used to do as a kid. Like you queue up for something, you just stand there and you'd wait. You'd look around. It's actually really interesting because you see nearly everyone else head craned down, looking at their phone, and it's just like, and then you start judging them, and you're like, but I'm normally like that. But it's a really, you just think though, it's like how how the obviously like the human body adapts over time and stuff like that. Obviously, we've not been doing this long enough at the moment. But you got to think, we're naturally looking down so much now, using your thumbs up for that. Like there's thumb strains now. Like what the fuck? Who the fuck strains your thumb? Like like what is that about? But it's like it's crazy. Obviously the importance of things like social media and stuff like that. There's so many positive sides to it, and so many ways that you can affect people's lives in a real positive.
Yeah,
it's crazy how they have just found a way to just get into our soul basically and become to a point where you just open up a phone and click an app. You're like, the fuck is that?
I know, especially with all the sponsored and targeted ads, which obviously was pretty crazy. Oh, I know, it's crazy. Putting mats, golf accessories. So you have to be careful. But I like to think I do use it in a productive manner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember last time we were both at work, we did your assessment and we were chatting about photography. I think you've upskilled yourself massively in that area, invested in a nice camera. How's that experience been? I think it's quite cool.
It's been brilliant. It's been brilliant. I think I guess I'm quite lucky that I do generally find it interesting, and I come home some evenings and I'm watching vlogs and YouTube clips on how to edit certain ways or how to get the perfect focus in a certain setting. So Courts and I invested in a camera called a Sony A7 Mark III with a Sigma lens for those of you interested. It's a considerable expense, but as we see it, it's an investment obviously kind of more than made that back with the social media gigs that we've got. But yeah, I'm really into all the Final Cut Pro editing and photography. So yeah, I'm lucky to call it a passion.
That's awesome. And like, for any aspiring influencers out there, what other than obviously high quality imagery, what other tips have you got for how to be a better Instagram producer?
Do you know what? So you don't actually need, you know, a £2,500 camera. Most of us have, very sufficient cameras on our phones or iPhones, and I think, with editing, it's I was listening to, I've got a good friend, Jamie Keith, who owns a production company called Jamie and the Jam, and we sat down over lockdown and had a FaceTime, and he gave me some fantastic tips, and he said it's all about the angles that you get. So whether it be a picture or a video, if you were recording a set of squats or a set of snatches, and you wanted to make it into a bit of a montage, it's good to just capture some slightly different angles, some more close-ups. Obviously, it helps if someone's holding the phone. But yeah, just capture and create some different angles would be my best advice.
Awesome. And what about the actual content you're providing, other than being born very good looking? What can you do to
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about you, I just thought you.
Make me blush.
Yeah.